I want to share with you a quick message of hope. Because hope is one thing that I've experienced a great deal of in my life. This stretch of coastline where I am now is where I spent the majority of my childhood. And like most of us, I spent my life being taught to live out the nationality in the person, the personality. Being taught that I should seek a career with my own intelligence. And all the while doing these things, never taught any foundation for that other than the system, other than the economy. I wasn't really offered God in amongst it. I wasn't offered awakening, nowness. And so as I progressed on that journey, I struggled and I toiled like many do. I had awful, quite soul-destroying jobs at times. And eventually, I was left wandering this coastline, the experience being one of just pure and immense suffering in my life. I suffered greatly as I wandered here alone. No one was there to understand or to help, I felt. And I just wandered alone, constantly analysing, questioning, why, going over things, asking, is there more to this? And I would sit listening to this ocean rolling, and it seemed to bring me some respite, some peace, as it was just this non-stop happening and motion and occurrence. And it seemed to root me into some place that brought me comfort. And so I came here every day during this time. And of course, many of you know during this time I was struggling with a void in my life I felt I had, after I felt the world had cheated me of becoming a father. I also, beyond there, felt the world had wronged me. And so before this time of immense suffering, I spent a lot of time wronging the world in return, treating things and human beings as resources without love at the foundation of what I was doing. And I hurt people. I'm ashamed of it, but I did. I hurt people in that state of consciousness. And so I'm here today, 8 years since I left this part of the world, some 10 or 11 years since that time of immense suffering, 11 or 12 perhaps. And that suffering was not for a month or two, it was prolonged for years. And the reason I left here was because the very first stages of me realizing where God was all along, in this suffering I was in, which ultimately was an illusion. For right here, right now, there is an endless fullness, completeness and bliss. And it was always with me. But I was playing the game of the person. I was using my brain to formulate the identity in the mind of John, the Englishman with all his memories and all the things he needed to forgive but had not, and all his desires and goals and all his beliefs and confusion and all the victim mentality. And as I played this game by giving awareness to these cycles of thoughts, these repetitive cycles that I'd clung and compounded into a ball, I couldn't feel that love anymore, but it was there. God's love is always with us behind there. And so I was here, listening to these rolling waves and realizing that as they rolled in and out, my heart was beating in and out. And eventually that observation led to the expansion within me of acknowledging that this persistent happening, this occurrence of nature, the rising of the foliage and the falling of it, the birds migrating and nesting, the waves rolling in, the wind blowing, the clouds moving, that I was an inseparable part of this. And not only an inseparable part, but an important element of this whole going on. A profoundly important one. An element that can become conscious of it and contemplate it. I left here after that suffering, in that connectivity to the oneness and beingness, in the nowness, the presence of God. And this is the rebirth that Jesus Christ spoke of. This is the enlightenment that people have yearned for. This is the awakening that people discuss. But people take it intellectually. They try to add it into this character. And it never quite settles into that freeness of uniting with those rolling waves, the beating heart inside you, and seeing that any sense of separation from that is an illusion constructed by the analytical element of your brain. And so in that nowness, in that beingness, the all-important presence, I stayed rooted. And I stayed there. That was my only goal. It's your only goal as well. Stay present with God. Stay present in beingness. Stay in the nowness. No identity is required within there, and the heart of God will lift you up, take you to where you need to be. And that can look many different ways, but for me it lifted me up and put me in Kilimanjaro. And this want to be a father, which I had mulled for years, manifest in the most amazing life, where I got an opportunity to provide that for hundreds of children. God's voice knows exactly where to take you. I'm here today on a place that I have memories of being deeply lonely and suffering on, and a place where I'm grateful for those murky waters and all of the wrong that happened in among there, for that provided me space to cultivate the person that I am. But I'm here today with my children and my wife, and we are so full of love, so full of gratitude. And I have all of that because I stayed in presence. Because I did not put conditions of my memory, of my character, of my beliefs, of my nationality, of my career, on the flow of energy, the woo way of life, the love of God that is behind all of that. So if you are looking for hope and you keep getting caught up in getting confused about who you are, who is this person I am, I need to understand the person, you cannot. The one trying to understand is the one that is creating all of the suffering. The one trying to understand what you are is the one that can't. Because truth is not understood from that part of you. Truth is understood only by stillness and presence, nowness, beingness. Only there will it bubble inside you and emanate from you and release this inquirer, release this person that you struggle and strain to understand. I want to know who I am. I want to understand this. I want someone to do it for me. All of that is an illusion and a game because you are not sitting quietly. And it's not that you can take John, in my instance, and sit him quietly here. But you can sit by the rolling waves and the moving river. And if you sit there long enough, and you don't let the impulses of your flesh drag you away after 30 minutes to go and use your phone or watch your television or whatever else, you will eventually in time come to a place where you can see this without language and without memory. And when you do, you will see the person was an illusion, and you will become unified with all that is happening, which is springing forth from the heart of God. You will become an occurrence of nature, just as the waves are, just as the ground is, just as every grain of sand is. You will be inseparable. the mind will come in and try to separate you again. But once you've stayed in that presence long enough, you'll always go back to it. It's the answer to everything. It's your only task. There's nothing to look for. There's nothing to seek and search. You have to sit present. Sit present. Let the sound of the waves play with your ears. Let the air fall in and out. Stop pretending you have control over your body and how it grows and beats its heart. And that will expand into stopping the pretending you have control of your life. You will fall into this space instead of trying to control it from there, and the resistance and suffering it creates, where that which controls the beat of your heart will take over your life. Great love will arise. It will guide you and love you and care for you and your family. It's waiting for you. Beingness is the only place you're going to find it. Nowhere else will it happen. You can play with it, come back to your computer. I spent years walking here in beingness. Without that, I wouldn't have found what many listen to me to understand and feel. And so I don't have anything for you, other than to say, if you sense something on me, and you say there's something here, and I don't quite know what it is that he's got, it's nowness, and nothing else. It's not a secret, it's just that. Because there your vibration expands, and God's presence, and the will for your life arises. And their great joy and peace will always walk with you, wherever you go, instead of the suffering that once walked with me wherever I went in this place. God bless, guys. I love you all. Be well. Be whole. Be present.
You can have it all. Every part of my world. Take this life and breathe on this heart that is now yours. You can have it all, Lord. Every part of my
Stay grateful. You really don't know where God's going to take you, or what He's going to bring into your life.
This heart that is now yours.
Beauty.